All right, fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes in social media. My name is Judson Powell. All right, let's get right to it. I want to talk about Minister Louis Farrakhan. And the reason why I want to talk about him, and we all know what happened with the whole Damon John thing, the owner of Fubu, and of course the guy who's on Shark Tank. But here's the thing with that, the whole thing with that, and I want to pull Nick Cannon into this too. You know, Nick should be, he should be in on it too. And what I was saying yesterday, and I don't think I really made my point clear. I think I could have made it a little bit clearer. But the whole thing is that we don't really have our First Amendment rights. Because whenever somebody says something, especially in the cancel culture now, they're like immediately fired. They lose everything by making one statement. But then I think back to law school and I'm like, and I think some of these people need to sue. And I'm just saying on top of that, because okay, why are you gonna fire me for speaking my mind, or not hire me for speaking my mind, or whatever, however the situation or the scenario goes down. So I guess that's my thing with that, because I want people to be able to be free. But here's the other thing: when you get people with in high places like Damon John and like Nick Cannon, when you get people in those type of positions with those type of platforms where they can speak to a lot of stuff, and they don't, and then they recant what they say and all of that kind of stuff, because that's not what we need right now. I mean, and I think that a lot of times, and it works both ways, because a lot of times people, they don't even know how to think, and most people don't think before they talk. Because and I was reminded of that today when I was watching some comedian or something like that, and who was that? I can't even think of who it was. But anyway, he was talking about how President Obama, when President Obama talked, and he had like these long pauses and stuff like that, and he was very cerebral, and he thought about what he said before he said it. But that's not everybody. Everybody is not like that. And most of the time I think about what I'm going to say, but I think about it before I go and I start taping it. I think about what I'm going to say. I read what I'm going to read. I look in depth, but I don't really like scripts. I'm not really a scripted person. And the whole time I was in radio, I used to make commercials, 30-second, 60-second commercials, and people would ask me, how do you know? But it's just a sense I have inside of my mind and in my spirit. So it was just something that was natural to me. But when we look at stuff like this now, and we're like, okay, so a guy says what he says, but why should he be punished for that? Just like then we up before you got to kiss the rabbi's ring, and go and be lectured to about this, that, and the other thing. And like I said, nobody is saying nothing about all of these black folks that are being brutalized and murdered by the police. It's ridiculous, but as soon as something happens to some other race, creed, color, whatever, and as long as they're not African or black, then it's like, oh, we got to say something. So when the stuff happened at those spas in Atlanta, and it was all Asians, then it was like, oh, well, we got to stop Asian hate, when and I mean, and it goes across the board. And the only people that I believe that are probably more hated than we are probably people that are Muslim, and especially Muslims that are original from overseas. So, because they really get a bad. Now they don't get involved in their business or try to mess with their money or anything like that, or any of the businesses that they try to operate and stuff like that. So that's the probably the one thing that we have that's different. If an Arab person, and the other thing is, because Arabs have never really been, until recently, they haven't really been persecuted like that. And we, in all of the places that we've attacked, like Afghanistan and Kuwait and all of these places that we've gone in and we've sent troops into, Saudi, not Saudi Arabia, but all of the people that we have gone after, and we think about, then you think about black people. And we've been under every single kind of attack. But when we speak about it, now all of a sudden we're haters. And to me, that's all Farrakhan, that's all the minister talks about. He talks about us being able to help ourselves, but he also tells the truth about what's going on and what people are saying and doing about us. And the other thing is, and I'm not a Muslim, but guess what? But I love the minister. I love listening to the minister. Ain't got nothing to do with your religion, but the things that they have said over the years about black folks making their own way is important. And it's one of the most important messages right now in this time of transition, because we are in a transition. Talk to the elders and the ancestors. The ancestors will tell you unequivocally that right now is a time of transition, because what we have, people are listening. But if we don't speak up while people are listening, then what good is it going to do? I mean, really serious. And the one thing, this other guy that comes on the internet, I'm not going to mention no names, but the one thing that he said that I give credit for is that we can't just have one voice. Everybody has to lift up their voice, and everybody has to fight back and has to say stuff about the stuff that's going on. I mean, come on, man, this stuff is ridiculous. They barely had the Derek Chauvin sentencing. I mean, not sentencing, but the results from the trial, the verdict from the trial, they barely had it out. And since then, we are talking about double digits now of people of color that have been shot down by the police. And that whole thing with Andrew Brown in North Carolina, in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, is ridiculous. They shot this man 5 times and once in the back of his head. Never engaged with him at all. Never told him that they were there serving a warrant. Nothing. They just went in, guns a-blazing, shot him up, bop, 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 bop. And no matter what we feel about the 16-year-old, and I've been seeing all these things about that. Some people believe that it was justified, some people don't. But here's the thing: the reason why it's unjustified is because, first of all, it's a child. There's no justification for shooting and killing a child, especially when you a grown man. There is no 16-year-old girl that I couldn't disarm or defuse. None. Not one. And I've had 16-year-old daughters. So, you gotta realize what's going on and what's going down. And I'm just saying, and for somebody to get out, and then the other thing, in Minnesota, that whole thing about, I didn't know if it was a gun or a taser, all of these excuses, all of these things, oh yeah, well, she was getting ready to attack another girl. She wasn't going to kill that other girl. Come on, y'all, be for real. She was the one that called the police. These cops are they're completely out of control. They're completely out of hand. And we can't give anybody an excuse. And that's always, I know our netters and all that, and we always talk about our nature. Well, yeah, it's not in our nature. It's not really in our nature to be mean and cruel and all that kind of stuff, but come on, y'all, for real. Some things, some of the stuff that's happening, there literally is no reason why any of this stuff should be happening. And a lot of these things, they're just straight up murders. And now look at the girl in Dallas. She's trying to get an appeal. What's the guy's name? Botham Jean. She's trying to get an appeal on that case. Why? You are a trained, sworn peace officer. How do you go in the wrong apartment and shoot somebody and not know who you were shooting? Come on. And now you're going to ask for an appeal. And the other thing is, and you have, in all of these instances, you have, which is the thing that they're keeping out of the media, is that you have police unions, and you have other things, other organizations behind the scenes supporting these people. So, just like the Proud Boys and all of these militia groups, that's the only one I can call off the top of my head. But you've got all these militia groups out here, and they claim to have membership in most police departments. That if you're going to fire people, those should be the first people you fire. If you find, when you do a background investigation, the first thing that you should do is find out, do they have ties to these hate groups? And if they do, fire them immediately. Hire somebody else. Because, and the first thing they do is, they come up with an excuse. Oh, well, I didn't know this was the deal. I didn't know that was the deal. I didn't know what was going on or anything like that. That's what I'm trying to say. Y'all gotta, wake up to this stuff, because it's not an accident. This stuff is not one or two, maybe that's an accident. But when you got something, and once again, to all of my spiritual people and all of my woke people, I want you to understand that this is spiritual warfare. It is spiritual warfare. Let me say it again. It is spiritual warfare. These killings, these murders, all the big, the funerals and all that kind of stuff. And remember I told you, most black people who live in big cities and whatever, and especially if there's a high crime rate, they don't even expect to live. They don't expect to live. They expect that they will be, shot down in cold blood at some point in their life. And it should not be a thing where I have to constantly be in the back of my mind wondering if I get pulled over, if I got a warrant or anything else that I got going on, and all of a sudden I'm shot dead. And most of the offenses, they have yet to show me one of these offenses where the person it also committed a violent crime, or a crime that is worthy of what? Of deadly force. There's none of this stuff. When George Floyd, allegedly passed a $20 bill. That is not something that you kill somebody about. It's $20. And later on, they found out that the money was real. The store clerk, he is beyond himself because he feels so bad. So that's all I'm saying. And then Chauvin and his other three, lynchmen got together and decided they was just going to lynch this guy. That's what these are. These are modern day lynchings. You pull up. I saw the photos or the videos of the people down in North Carolina. The cops had a huge. They had it probably was like, I don't know. I could see 5 of them, so we know that there were at least 5. Why do you need that many people? And why are you rolling through the street? No sirens on or nothing like that. Just rolling through the streets of the city, acting crazy, because that's a way to keep people at check. Anyway, fastest 15 minutes is up. I'm fed up. I can't breathe.